anytime all the years that I would teach, the first thing I would say to my classes was, I'll get to know you within 3 or 4 weeks.
And why not?
That's fast. I mean, that's a lot of people's names to remember.
Yeah, there's some teachers that have it within days, literally.
Yeah.
I do not have that skill.
I always say it's the kids who need me to know who they are.
We had a judge
But I don't remember their name.
Yeah.
Which is off. Yeah, I mean,
Well, there's certain
I know
models
high
you can
flyers,
use to
I know
memorize
those
stuff,
ones,
but I
you know, it's just
never
those
was
5
able to
days,
do
or the middle of the road.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
like, dang it, I need to
Yeah, I was
get to
math
know
teacher,
people.
so-
We're live now.
Zero. Happy time.
All right. I'm just calling up the file, so we're ready whenever.
Oh, okay. I got that set for 1, so I guess if we're ready, sure, call me to order. And Ryan, would you like to do the pledge?
Sure. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the consent agenda. I need a motion for that.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented in our packet.
Second?
Okay, moving to second. Is there any further discussion?
I have one question, number 6, a recall, is that a teacher or an employee that was whiffed but then brought back? Is that what recall means, Jennifer Davis, or Rebecca Davis?
Yes.
Okay. I thought so, I just wanted to be sure.
New hires, number 3, I, actually related to Joey.
Yes.
Okay. Years ago, that was, I would say problem, but prevalent. I'm assuming that everything went through all.
Oh, yeah, it actually was a part of the work with the Corvallis School District, with our food services. And so when we moved food services over to Philomath, and the agreement was to be able to take the current employees that work in Philomath schools for the Corvallis School District and move them straight over. So she's worked for a number of years in our kitchens. She's now a Philomath employee instead of a Corvallis employee, but doing the same thing.
And the resignations, the 2 from KBCS.
Yep.
Was that,
We have 2 instructional assistants for special education
special
out there
education? That's what I was trying
that resigned their positions for various reasons. We're looking at our recall list to see about the remaining individuals, if their interest lies in going to Kings Valley. The classified contract is silent about if you don't accept what's offered to you, you're off the list. It's silent in that way. And so we have agreed that we will leave them on the list if they are to say no, and just keep track of if somebody refuses 6 different positions, then of course we'll take a look at that. But want it to be really clear and fair with where we're going. So that's where we are.
So that brings up a question for me, if this is another good time. Are bargaining agreements apply to KVD?
Yes.
Or is it?
Well, our bargaining agreement applies to special ed staff at Kings Valley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they're district
Thank you.
employees.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So as district employees, that's the only group that we've got set up there.
And I
Good
did know
question.
that, but I forgot, so thank you.
Good question.
Leave of absence, what's the deal with that?
She is filling in for a parental leave for a teacher. She is an IA within the district. She's a credentialed teacher. So while our teacher at the elementary school is on parental leave, we are moving Laura out of her instructional assistant role to be the short-term teacher during that parental leave.
Okay.
And then once that teacher comes back, Laura will return to her instructional assistant role at Philip Elementary.
What does it do with the two boardroom units? Does she join the other unit while she's teaching and then back, or what? How does that work?
I don't remember how,
No,
you're
she'll
the better
stay in the
answer.
classified bargaining unit. She'll stay in the classified group because she's a substitute
Okay,
for the
Thank you.
okay. I didn't know, so yeah.
No, it's what we do.
Okay, anybody else got any questions or anything? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Let me back to the right one here. Request for agenda modifications. Okay, I am going to ask that this time, D3 be postponed until our meeting on the 7th. Simply because we have not had time to thoroughly look at it and take in exactly what is or isn't there, what changes were made or anything. Because it was kind of late getting into the, so if that's okay, we'll do that on the 7th.
Does that cause any immediate issues anywhere?
I don't think there's any issues, but I want to thoroughly read it, and I haven't had time to.
No, does that cause any issues with insurance
Payroll.
being done, payroll being
Because
done?
people get paid for the first time in September.
Yeah,
And so we will be able to make the payroll. The other thing that we were doing, and had we approved tonight, PEA is not set for their vote of approval until next week. Okay. They wanted to wait till teachers came back, which makes sense.
So we can do it in our, Rick, you said do it in our work session?
yeah.
Yeah,
On the
that's,
7th, okay.
that's.
I just should get it done as soon as we can, after we have time to read everything and, make sure that we're good with it. I don't see any problems with it, but I just, before I vote on it, I want to be able to read it and know exactly what's there.
So what that would mean then is PEA would ratify or not next week.
Yeah.
And we could vote on that at our retreat session. And the struggle with putting it out to the September 21st meeting date, if we would have waited that long, is it limits time to be able to establish payroll and all kinds of things like that. So early in September, and I'm looking at you, Jennifer, should be certainly workable for us.
And we talked at a working session, it doesn't make any difference who approves first, so.
Just from past experience, giving these new contracts have to be issued and returned. New contracts, revised contracts have to be issued and returned, plus adjustment to payroll and something like that, assuming both ratifications. And that, whenever we get behind and we're doing post-back pay,
Yeah.
it gets complicated. And so I can't object one way or the other, or I don't have any say, but I would hope that Jennifer could, say that if it could happen at that early September meeting, that there would be time to do all that stuff.
And I don't see any problems with it, I just want to be able to read it and make sure, read it what I'm voting on, rather than vote and then read it. So, that's the only reason I want to do it, but I don't see any problems or any issues coming up, so, if Jennifer would want to go ahead and kind of fill in the blanks, and then as soon as we approve it, she hits the click button to make it work, then.
Or Megan, she'll be the one doing it, but yeah.
Yeah, the work session is set for September 7th.
Yeah.
And so we'll be
It's public
early
meeting.
in the month.
We can definitely have things ready to go and then push
Yeah,
the button after.
Yeah, I see no problems with it either. I gave a decent read through today, but I haven't looked at everything
yeah,
specifically.
well, I would rather look at all of it and But like I say, I don't see any problems with any of it, so that's the only thing that anybody else got anything?
I do, I have number 4, the communicable disease management plans. We are currently still in the process of getting those updated. I had hoped they would be done this evening, but they're not. And so we will have those for approval. We'll have those for approval later. But they're in the process of being updated.
Later, like, can we do that on the 7th?
Can we do that on the 7th or the 21st?
Yeah, okay.
Is there any reason to rush that? I mean, yeah, we moved
ODE
7th grade.
wants them, but the other part of that is that what we can do is post them with a draft statement across them so that it meets the timelines for the Department of Education. We did that, I think it was last year we did that. We posted them as draft, and then once the board approved, we took the draft off there, even though it was the same information. But I just tell them when we're going to approve it. And as long as we have them, that's their deal, so.
Okay. That sounds good. One more request for modifications. Public comment.
You have one.
One, two. No, Michelle says there's none. Did somebody have public comment? Just didn't get the green card filled? Oh, you got the green card.
Well, just in case, I didn't actually know the process or when you turn it in.
Okay, well, when you come in, just for process wise, fill out the green card and then give it to Michelle, and then she'll bring it up to me.
Oh, okay.
So, huh?
I didn't fill it out.
Oh, what, did you want to comment?
I was only going to ask, or one of the things I was interested in is the communicable disease management plan, what kind of changes or in regards to any COVID.
The only piece of it now is the plans in the past have been communicable disease, and I'm going to butcher this a little bit, communicable disease for COVID. What they've done is backed away from COVID specifically and said communicable disease plans for all communicable diseases. So what it does is it takes us from the specificity of needing to address COVID to being able to look at the generalities more. I mean, if we have COVID, we can leave that stuff set up in there, but it's more about in what instances do we continue to contact the health department and be able to make sure if we have a certain number of absences that because of illness that we're doing our due diligence to work with them to manage what we need to in school. Those kinds of things, making sure that we continue to have cleaning materials appropriately in schools, making sure that we continue right now because face coverings are optional all around, but making sure we have something around should someone desire to use one at some stage of the game. But it's really taking the COVID specific out and being able to make sure that we have just systems in place to be able to say, as something comes up, we are prepared to be able to work with our folks to be able to make the appropriate plans to work. So, and those will, I'm just trying to think of how those will be shared, because I'm happy to share them. If you even put a name and an email on that card and give it to Michelle, I can make sure that it's shared with you so that you can see kind of the template of how it's laid out and provide feedback or anything like that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Public comment report, student government report, which nobody's here. Association.
Unless our board representative has something.
Oh, you do have some?
I mean, I haven't really been in contact with the student body since June, but at registration yesterday, everyone seemed to enjoy their summer, and I think it'll be a smooth transition with the school year. That's it.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. PEA report.
Always. I will give a truncated ASB report too, because it's my
Okay.
too. Just that ASB has, for the last couple of years, assumed the role of freshman orientation organizer. in lieu of the fact that we've dropped rate group as a process at the school, or as a entity. And so, ASB officers will meet again next week, and we've got a bunch of volunteers from the older grades to guide our freshmen through their first day of school on the 5th. And so that's what we're looking for, guys. So that's something the ASB is doing. We haven't really added on. Also, you know, this is my last year's ASB director, so. Assuming we find somebody who's willing to do it. So, EA report, I don't know. You good?
I'm good, I'm just
All right.
anything out
All
of
right.
here.
Just remember, we're co-presidents, and we do everything together, so. We are relieved to have a potential contract agreement before the start of school, something we talked about in our last meeting. And it was a priority, I think, for everybody in this room and everybody not in this room. And so that's a positive note for sure. Our negotiation process has underlined the fact that our contract is a living document. And both PDA and district can and have and should continue to work together to shape it to meet evolving needs. We're constantly taking things in, putting things out, and addressing things that come up and new things. And the contract, I watched the contract evolve over 25 years, and it looks very different than it did. There are some things I wish were still in it, and some things I'm glad are in it now. And so it's been a thing that's been mutual for both sides, and it's been a pretty good process. I think this process was positive. We are going to present the details of our tentative agreement to our members on Wednesday. Actually, we're going to send the details to the members before Wednesday in discussion at our PDA luncheon meeting on Wednesday, and we will.
I hope you say Thursday.
What's that?
I hope the PDA, what is the PDA?
I noticed it was Thursday. We talked.
Is it really?
It is actually
Wednesday.
I know, but when you look at it, it's
I
actually
thought the
Thursday.
board
We just
lunch
didn't
was
discuss it, so.
Board lunch is Friday.
Friday.
I am. Sorry to be rude.
Don't feel bad, Dave. I had it this Friday.
You can have lunch whenever you want.
Anyway, so I guess, and we're hoping to have a ratification vote. I can't guarantee that there won't be more discussion than we're comfortable with going forward with a vote for, or people in the same sense that you guys did, not really feeling like they have all, but we'll be organized to have our members put it to a vote. There is still some work to be done to address and clarify some of the areas of the contract that have elicited concern from our membership and from the school board. From the district, we're looking forward to working together to find a mutually satisfactory path going forward. We talked about forming this committee. We have a meeting scheduled with Susan to select a committee. We're going to, between the three of us, we're going to select a committee that's representative of all points of view, and then we're going to hands off and let them come up with hopefully come up with some kind of path forward. And they have no suggestion. That's also all we'll take. So. The tentative agreement we have is to be able to adopt into the contract maybe adjustments for next year. If nothing happens, then it's a status quo agreement going forward for the second year. I want to thank the board members and administrators who served on the district bargaining team for your energy and input to the process. Special thanks to the members of our PDA team. And Nicole, I had to fill in a name because I can't remember the last name, so you're going to fill in one name for me. Nicole, Stevie, Greg Hudson, Shara, Elaine Hall, and
Ali Hernandez.
Thank you. And our administrative consultant, Jason Foltz, that put in a ton of work and really did everything they could to represent our members' needs. We want to reiterate our standing invitation to board members to make themselves at home in our schools and classroom. The teachers in this district and licensed staff are transparent in their actions. We want visitors. We love visitors. We're eager for all of our board members, especially our new members, to become familiar with our staff and the great work that's going on in our buildings. And in-service week is a great time to kind of meet people we have multiple times when we have, there's the lunch on Friday, but there's also the Wednesday morning social, or excuse me, what is it, Thursday night?
Yep.
Okay, Thursday morning social period before district in-service. And then, on Wednesday, teachers are going to be in their classrooms, and that, if you're available to walk through any of the buildings and just introduce yourselves to people. Very few of our teachers generally come to school board meetings or talk to school board members unless they come to that. And we want you to feel like you can have conversations with those people about, Rick is at things all the time, and people bend his ear, but also just being able to talk. And it's good to have interactions back and forth, and just think it makes for a more, what we want is a cooperative venture. And there have been times in the past when the labor management relationship has been adversarial, and that's really one of our priorities, is to not be adversarial. So Nicole and I will be meeting regularly with Susan to discuss ongoing and emerging concerns. We had a meeting today to talk about 5 or 6, 7, 8 issues that need to be addressed, and I think we reached mutual agreements about pretty much all of them. And just so you know, we're happy to share our labor management meeting agenda items and outcomes with anybody on the school board and any of our members, anything that's not confidential, confidential personnel business, because transparency is really key for us. We're not doing backroom deals, and we're not trading things off, and we want to be very above board before we do it. Not that anybody has done it differently in the past, but we just want to be really clear. If you want to know what's going on in our conversations back and forth, ask us, and we'll tell you. So we're looking forward to a great year. We're eager to get started. Some of us are more eager to get started than others. I'm going to enjoy my last 3 or 4 days of vacation this weekend, and hopefully we'll be able to. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole. OCA. Superintendent's report.
All right. The world amps up fast when people start coming back. So there's a lot that's been happening. What I really wanted to focus on, come on. It's my SharePoint here. Oh, can you allow me sharing rights, please, Michelle? Most enrollment at the schools is complete. Clemens Primary and Blodgett and PES and the middle school had their enrollments all today. And the high school has spanned it out through the week, where seniors started Monday, juniors yesterday, sophomores today, freshmen tomorrow. So they're continuing to add in. It will be interesting to be able to see when we finally have overall enrollment numbers, the numbers of students who belong to us and the number of students who have come to us as inter-district transfers. Because I've signed a lot, but we want to be able to take a look at it because we're seeing increases in enrollment that have altered some things significantly. We have agreed to add a 4th grade teacher, so we will now be back to 4 teachers in the 4th grade instead of the classroom base of 3. And the numbers of additional enrollments that we've received at that grade level warranted us being able to make that decision, and to make it before in-service starts, and especially before students start, is the best thing to do. We also have added a 5th kindergarten class at Clemens. Their enrollment right now, after today, which doesn't account for stragglers coming in this week or early next week, is at 95 students. And so, and as you know, there's a priority to keep our primary classrooms, especially smaller, to be able to work with students in that way. So I think you'll see on your consent agenda tonight that we've got recommendations for hire for those 2 spots already. We opened up a teacher pool, so we opened that up in early August to allow us to have the 2 weeks of required time to post a position, and knowing that if we needed to hire, we wouldn't have to wait until today and then have to post for 2 weeks and the school year started before we can hire somebody. And if we didn't need to hire somebody, we just wouldn't. And you know, we would tell people in the pool, thank you for applying, our needs are met. So it gave us a run ahead, which is nice. And it's warranted some really good things for us and some teachers that have been very involved in those placements. So we've made those additions. The other thing that we're looking at right now is what enrollment looks like all over the place. We're also seeing that we have had some inter-district transfers in a couple of sites for some special education students that have some pretty high needs. And so that's causing us to take a look at some of our instructional assistant needs as well. And I always ask my boss, Jennifer, to be able to let me spend money. And we've always said, if we've got a need, we're not going to cheat the kids. You know, we're going to figure it out and make sure that we can take care of business. So we're in the conversations right now, and part of that is based on where we see needs as we start to see students. So we'll be doing some fluctuation quite possibly as needs arise and we see what some of the numbers are for some specialties. So we feel good about, with the exception of a couple of instructional assistants being up and staffed, and not having to wait and start the school year with a bunch of substitutes, which is a very good thing.
So I got another question. The 4th grade and the kinder, you said you've added those teachers?
Oh,
Have we hired anybody or just add that position and then we have to fill it?
are they on the consent agenda to fill, Michelle? Did they get on there?
I didn't see.
They were not.
Okay.
Not sure if they're on the consent agenda.
Okay, they may not be because they've been within the last 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
They've been hired. I mean, they are destined to go in places.
So we'll see them at the September.
Yep.
board meeting.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And actually what we did with 4th grade, so that it's clear, is we had moved a 4th grade teacher back to teach 3rd grade at the end of the school year. And so when we found the need to be able to fill that, we actually moved that teacher back to the 4th grade assignment that individual held in prior years. And the new individual will teach at 3rd grade. So it's making up the difference for the numbers, but it's just, we shuffled some deck chairs a little bit to be able to have some familiarity and things like that. So
You just said that it was on the consent agenda.
I thought it was,
hadn't seen
but
it.
my bad, yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Yep.
Susan, I have a question. I don't
Yeah.
know if this isn't the right time to bring it up, but as we talked about, you said there's a lot of new kindergartens coming in. When do the capacities of each school for future planning, like to know, being new to this, don't know how we are, there's a lot of housing developments going on. So we're looking at future planning, we know, like, it's obvious there's more population coming in, there's no question, there's housing developments all around.
Right.
So I don't know if that comes up at September 7th, or when I plan things like 5 years out, the way I work, so I look out there, and it's pretty obvious, you have all these new houses and new people coming in.
Yeah.
So we have a plan to, when are we gonna be overgrown?
And we consider that every day. If we back up to, this is my 4th year starting, so 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was a facility study completed. And the facility study was in anticipation of the new housing developments that said you will be overrun with children. And so we predicted high and all those kinds of things. And we never saw them in the existing developments that have gone up. And part of that was the homes may not necessarily have been priced in a single family starter home. And so we didn't see the students.
So we have a number,
Yeah.
a number somewhere that says, here's what our capacity is.
We have information. As a district, we have in policy also set up the policy that says that on if we've not made a decision by March 31st of an existing school year, then we will accept interdistrict transfers. Those interdistrict transfers, we can't deny based on specialty. So we can't say, you are an English learner, so we're not going to take you, or you are a special ed student, we're not going to take you. The only thing that we can do is take a look at those students who have been expelled from another district that we are not obligated to take, or those students that once they come to us have attendance behavior problems that we can't keep them. They're not doing us, they need to follow the same expectations of other kids. So what we talked about at the very end of last year, Corvallis has a policy that has capped their class sizes, and they cut off their acceptance of inter-district transfers in March. I would like us to take a look back as we know what we've got this year for students and be able to revisit that policy that says, do we want to accept every inter-district transfer, or do we want to be able to cap class sizes and say, well, we will accept inter-district transfers until X time, and then we'll accept them based on class load or some of the things that we can put in place to be able to make that determination. And we can use the facility study information, even though it's older, to be able to help us guide those decisions. Because what we don't want to do is, it's kind of the blessing and the curse of having more students. We want more students. We also appreciate where we are in terms of being able to serve our community students. Yeah. And so want to be real thoughtful about what we're accepting. So yes, it will come back in September or October to be able to have those conversations about where we need to go and what we need to do.
And so in September, this is off subject, but I think I speak for Sandy and I, there's a lot of information, a lot of abbreviations, a lot of stuff that we don't know.
Oh, so yeah.
Like there's no starter for you guys. You guys
welcome to education.
So Sandy and I don't have any background information.
Ask lots of questions, write stuff down.
No, that's good. That is good.
Send emails.
We've all been there, right?
Yeah. Acronyms are we. That's.
Well, I just want to make sure we have enough. Like when you talk about, when we vote on things.
Yep.
We don't have any background information or anything because we have. Sure.
Right. No, and that's what we need, is to be able to ask the questions and raise it. That's perfect.
So I guess my question is there a lot of information that like this number study, as we ask questions, the information is not ready because you don't have it ready? Is there such thing as like an information packet or information overload that we're going to get, or we just have to ask as we go along?
And some of it you may have to ask for, but those kinds of things, knowing that we want to come back to, we were just talking about it before the meeting today, about our student numbers and our interdistrict transfers and what that does for us and what that means in terms of facility capacity. We know we need to come back to that. So that will be pulling out that facility study again and being able to bring that forward along with what do our enrollment numbers look like at the, like the first day of school. We'll have had a chance to take a look at that and know who are Falun students, who are outside, where have our numbers grown or lost over time. So as we know things like that, we'll put it in there, but I'll be the first to say that there are times that things will come up that we get busy and somebody just needs to say, I need more information on that because I'm clueless. And then we raise it and go. Absolutely.
For you guys, Sandy and I have talked, we'd like to come to each school to visit with. It'd be better at a time the teachers are together, because rather than going classroom to classroom, but if there was set staff meeting days or something where we could come by each school, that would be a lot better, more beneficial, I think, than us going walking in each classroom, I think.
If you'd like, we can actually, because we need to meet with our PEA officers, and we have officers in every school, we can ask those officers in each school for a time, like if they can give a couple of days every month, that would be like what time period and where at, and then we can share that with you, and then see if it works in your schedule. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then maybe the next month works and stuff. So I can definitely do that and create a schedule out there.
My kids are in religion and Elmore, now they're in fifth grade, but I grew up in Dallas, I've been to high school, I've been to middle school. We've owned property for my whole life, and I've been here now 25 years, but I've never been to the school. What's that?
There's also a ton of institutional knowledge within the staff for the kind of similar kinds of questions you're talking about. Like, I was just looking at there's some perspective. There are lots of places to get that.
We could put something together.
That would be ideal, because we're very committed.
I can share it with the whole board.
Yep.
So sometimes.
That would be great, thank you.
And then the main ask is that we talk to the building administration before we come visit the schools, just so that they know we're coming. We don't just show up and we're
That's
like,
why I
oh,
meet
why are you here?
So.
Sure.
And when you do go to a specific building, always check in with the office, don't
Right.
just buzz right in or whatever.
You can't anyway.
Huh?
You physically can't hopefully get into the
Well,
building without going
technically,
to the office
anybody who
first.
walks into the building is supposed to check in and sign in.
Yeah, but it's always nice to swing through the office, let them know that you're on site.
Sure.
Because you can kind of go through there and not really be seen if, you know.
We'll do it right.
Yeah. So, okay.
Cool. Those are the big ones, and of course, the other big thing that has been a time consumer for us has been the conversion to the new student information system, so the new student data system. And the needs that get done from there, and when is training done, and who's doing training in a training site, and how do you make sure that you don't get your live site password too early to get in the wrong site to do something, but you need to have it to be able to do different things. And so we're just working through all the logistics and details to be able to make sure everything is up and running. That is what also, and I wanted to share our in-service information. And I think I've sent it, the calendar. If I haven't, I will make sure I do, to each of you, that we actually start next week with a new employee in service on Tuesday. Will be here at the district office. We've got our Wednesday day is licensed staff will have the whole day in their classrooms. And that's contractual with our licensed staff, is to be able to have at least 12 hours in their classrooms during that week. 8 hours of which is uninterrupted, and the other 4 hours that must be administered into at least 2-hour segments. And so it's not ideal in terms of what we've done in the past, because most people will look at this, some of them, and they will say, I want Friday in my classroom. Well, we've had to set up training that hinges on other people's schedules. And so for a year, we're gonna look a little different, a little weird, but we'll get back to it. Thursday is the first day for our classified staff, so classified and licensed will be here. That is a breakfast that you are all welcome to at 7:30. We're keeping it simple. We're doing bagels. We've got some gluten-free bagels, fruit, and coffee tea. Because of the schedule that we've got for our professional learning and how tight it is on Thursday morning, we're going to start breakfast at 7:30. The welcome message will happen at 7:45, and I've told people here, by the time we introduce it, new people, I'll probably have 4 minutes left over in that 15 minutes to do a state of the district, and people will love it because it'll be the shortest state of the district that has ever been put forward. And then at 8 o'clock, we will move into our various professional learning activities that we need to do. Some of them may end a little bit before that 11:30 time, but we had to plan for the maximum of what we might be looking at. And so we're hoping that there's going to be some pockets in there to be able to provide some additional time for activities and additional time in the classroom. So Thursday is the association lunches. And then the afternoon is for schools to be able to do their staff meetings, team meetings, kind of community building, some things like that. And then Friday is when we get everybody involved in a little bit of the synergy training to be able to allow teachers to understand, how do I take attendance, how do I put an assignment in, how do I grade, how do I get, how do I do? And so it's pretty broken up. The other thing I'll tell you is I'm really pleased and appreciative of the board for stepping forward, for finding funding and being able to host again the barbecue lunch that the board has hosted in the past. And it's kind of like COVID took that away. And even when we were back at school, it was, we really don't want to get everybody together all in one space for an extended period of time, but are really pleased to be able to bring that back because it is an incredible show of appreciation to the staff that is something very visible to be able to do. So that's really appreciated that that's coming back and we have the chance to do that.
And I'll interject at this time, my apologies for putting the wrong date. I had it on the 25th, is what I organized everything for, and then it was brought to my attention. It's not till the 1st.
Yeah, we would have had a lot of leftovers.
Yeah, we were talking on Friday, so we had a lot of burgers.
So anyhow, it is on the 1st, and so I know I emailed everybody that, you know, or talked to them on the phone that the 25th, and then I sent an email for the 1st, so hopefully everybody can work out their schedules.
It's actually much easier on the first.
Yeah,
so
first is
review.
better too.
Okay.
Good. And then we've got first day of school activities and things like that. So everything's really ramping up for people to be able to come back and lots of different activity. We're looking to be able to see where our numbers are. I talked to Abby at the primary school today, and she said they have, like I said, 95 kindergarten students right now as of today, and they have 85 first graders. And so we feel like right now we're okay for first grade, but we knew we needed to do something at kinder to be able to take care of that. The high school we knew last year would be, they graduated fewer seniors than the 8th grade class coming in. So we knew that there would be more students. And I think Mark said that they had 440 last year and they're at 490 right now. So there's an influx there as well. And I have talked to the middle school, I haven't talked to the elementary school to be able to kind of see where things are there. But we're taking a look at, and what we will do is we will recalculate our numbers and submit when it's allowable to the Department of Ed. We can't guarantee until the end of the first quarter that they may or may not do anything with changing funding. So that it may happen earlier, but there's a likelihood that it won't. The other thing that we have to think about is if every other district in the state is also seeing a rise in students like we are, the pocket of money at the state doesn't change. And so if we have risen, but everybody else has also risen, it may not change the per student funding, or it may actually decrease. So the pie is only so big, and it really all depends on how that plays out. And so that's something we just have to be aware of and understand and try and find how we can maneuver and piece things together. So I'm really interested in being able to see what the numbers are, but we're ready to roll and kick things off. And as Steve Bell used to tell me when I was at the middle school, it's going to happen whether you're ready or not. So here we go. And so that's where we are.
So what is the maximum at the high school? Student number?
I don't know off the top of my head what it would be, but I know that there have been times when there's been 600 students in the school.
Let's say we've had in excess of 600.
Okay. Well, I was just curious about what it would be. I mean, I don't want to exactly, but
That was a different building.
Well,
Yeah.
It's actually buildings bigger.
Yeah, the other thing that we always want to look at, I mean, one of the reasons when we looked at the 4th grade setup over at the elementary school is the physical makeup of the way those 4th grade classrooms are designed aren't conducive to a class of 28, 29, 30 kids. They're just not. If you want students to see the whiteboard, because the rooms are longer and narrower, it's kind of like, okay, you got to get up out of your seat and you got to move over here in order to be able to see. And so part of that is just the physical mobility of being able to have kids move around. So, and the other thing that we know is we're seeing different kids than what we saw 10 years ago. And so how do we accommodate for what the true needs are and look accordingly? The middle school, I would always say, because our middle school used to be 4 grades. It used to be 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there were, what, 150 kids a class?
Could have been.
You know, so
We had classes, 4 classes in the morning.
yeah, so I mean, it's, you know, you've got 600 kids at Fulham Middle School, and now they were, I think last year they ended at 320. But I remember all my years at the middle school saying, I don't know where you put them. I just have no idea where you put that many students. So, but it's those things that we need to continue to take a look at.
I have a question about the in-service training.
Yep.
Are any of those available for board members to do if they wanted to, the online safe schools training modules that were listed?
Yeah, and we can certainly set those up. The other thing that the special ed is going to be a pretty focused setup. You are welcome to join pull this up here again so I can see the
Yeah, it's that Thursday afternoon, or I don't know, Thursday afternoon, but
the
chunk on the right.
Yeah.
Side there.
oh, over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can set those up because those are online. But if you are welcome to be able to be a part of this instructional strategies done with depth, we have someone coming from the Department of Education to be able to share with all our licensed staff and administrators. The CPI, or the Crisis Prevention Institute, has a series of online modules. And then it'll be followed by a day of on-site training. And that on-site training for some people will go to a level of, if you need to actually physically restrain a student, you will learn how and how to do that appropriately. But they also now have a verbal de-escalation track that doesn't get you to needing to restrain. And we thought the perfect part of that, because we really don't have that many restraints that you're prepared. But the other part is the ability of some of our people to be able to talk down an escalated situation, or to know how to put yourself physically in a classroom as a presence, by the door, by other students, by the student struggling, you know, things like that that are just good for people that interact with kids every day to know. So we've invited our office managers who see kids every day. We have a half a dozen people that are coming over from the Columbia Bus Company who are going to participate. So we're really trying to make sure that we offer up the opportunity. The thing that we would need to know, if there's a board member interested in the Crisis Prevention Institute manuals or the modules, we just need to make sure there's a sign up because there's an online link that we have to set up, but that's easy. So
well, that's very timely considering the legislative change that just happened this last year requiring schools to have
yes.
crisis prevention trained individuals.
Yeah, and we've had people, this is really our opportunity to be able to say, let's expand the audience a little bit and take, our custodians are another group. Now, we're weighing that with, we were short custodial crew this summer for a variety of reasons. Their job is to make sure that students and staff are ready to access a school. And so if we're not ready for kids to come in the door, they may not participate on that day, but we can look at allowing them to participate at another time. It's that important. But if they have the time on this particular in-service day, the encouragement is we've got all our custodial staff that interface with kids every day. And it's just good information for folks.
I've been through the same school stuff a few times.
I imagine you've done it a
I
few
don't
times.
do it again.
Just a few.
I've done like a parent safe school thing around like being a chaperone and all of that, and they had to do one for a while, I don't know if it's still required. It was like a 2-hour long training at one point.
I'm gonna use my login.
I just think it's an empathy builder, right? If we understand
sure,
the
yeah.
trainings that you all are going through for the better part of a week, and what the modules look like.
Great question.
And I'm a nerd, come on, we all know that already.
It's all okay.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Okay. That being said, Jennifer, financial report.
I left you all a little present there at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you for all of your work. Helping us get that budget put together.
This supposed to keep, or do we give this back to you after?
It's yours. It's a gift for all of your time on the budget committee.
You might even
Let's
autograph
foil
it.
that, so thank you.
Susan shared a lot about the enrollment, and as she said, we won't know how that affects our state school funds allocation until later this fall, so we'll see, and it makes me rethink our enrollment prediction process. I think we'll be blown out of the water, not knowing with like the best data we had, and I have to rethink how that works. That said, we still have to live within what our allocations are for the beginning of the year, so we know any different. We have heard that our student investment account grant allocation will be more than we predicted, so hopefully that can help us bridge the gap we might need for a bit until we know. I included a new report in your financial packet. The ones that I give generally throughout the year are pretty meaningless this time of year because we haven't encumbered all of the salary and those predictions that, the projections that are shown would be fairly skewed. So this report just shows a comparison of July over the last 3 years and kind of a general overview. And they're pretty new reports that our Forecast 5 software creates. It's kind of fun to look at them and interpret and see what they're comparing, make sure it all makes sense. And then a few other things. The budget committee vacancies, that's in the board packet to discuss tonight. We had 3 term expirations, and I had one of those budget committee members contact me this afternoon saying that she'd like to continue on. So now we'll have 2 vacancies. Shelley Brown committed to renewing her term.
Okay, cool.
Now we can open that up for the 2 and then hopefully get applications through September and announce the new members in October. So we can start the budget process all over again.
Yeah.
With our fall information meeting in December. And that's about all I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you.
I like to
Okay, budget. Now we're going to move on to the county forest updates.
What, you skipped over budget committee vacancies, see one.
I thought that she just,
Yeah.
Just that's the discussion, okay, I wasn't sure, okay, no, that's right.
okay, county forest update. I'm going to take a stab at this one since I've been sitting in on some of the meetings and kind of know what things are. Susan's always here to back me up if I get going down the wrong path. But we did have a meeting, I believe, back in July with the,
I got the dates.
huh?
I've got the dates.
Oh, I know, but I mean, I'm just saying that it kind of as a brief overview
Yeah,
of
we
what's happening.
were late June when we had that
Was
first
it late
meeting.
June?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyhow, with the industry professionals to talk about what we could do with Downing Forest. And if you're not familiar with that, there were some edge trees taken out a number of years ago, opened it up to possible blowdown with heavy wind. The wind came, substantial blowdown. We couldn't use any of the area till it was cleaned up. However, we cleaned it up. It was decided to leave it up to the professionals to come in and figure out what needed to be taken out to make it work. They came in, cleaned it up. It's in the process of being cleaned up now. I think, I haven't been over there the last few days, but are they still working on grinding the stumps?
Joey gave me the update that he said The trail mulching is completed and we have dirt getting delivered tomorrow and 2 pieces of equipment rented to groom the trail and get some ditch work done for Friends.
Okay,
So that was the update I got from him today.
okay. And so I met last week with Joe and Brian, the cross-country people, and they were out staking a course. And I happened to be out there at the same time. We were talking and kind of see what they need that we could help with. One of the things was dirt, you know, to bring in and kind of help us spruce up the course, make some different things, add some things to the course. I happen to be hooked up with some people that are doing some dig outs over in West Corvallis. They called me today, said, hey, we're gonna have some dirt. I said, good, can we have it? And they said, great. Always nice to have a free place to dump dirt, because if we take it down to River Bend, we have to pay to dump it, and they don't like to pay to dump it when they got a free spot, especially when the trucking is closer than going to River Bend. So they were more than happy to let the school district have it. Don't know how many loads we're gonna get, don't know how many Joey wants, how many he needs. That's still kind of up in the air, but it is gonna start tomorrow. Getting the dirt in, redoing some of the course. Some of it evidently has already been redone. Joe was just telling me there's a dirt pile out there that's been groomed, you know, already. So, you know, it's a work in progress, but hopefully it'll be ready for the Merriman meet when it comes up in October.
Early October.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. We've taken some flack for the way that it looks now with all the trees being gone. But like we try to tell people, it's a work in progress, and we couldn't do anything with it the way it was with the leaning trees
Liability,
and things like that. You know, we couldn't let anybody out there, because if somebody got in there and a tree finished falling down or a new tree fell down, you know, we have that legal responsibility, and you know, we just, risk management is what I like to call it, manage our risk of getting people hurt. So I don't know, do you have anything to add, Joe?
Well, first of all, I appreciate how proactive everybody's been. Since been calling meetings, helping out from New Rick. The city actually came through and did a little bit of work for us. Needless to say, I was shocked at what happened. I don't really feel like I knew that this was coming. We thought that they were just going to take out a few trees that had blown over and a few trees that were damaged. So when I returned from the trip and saw that it was all gone, it was quite shocking. And that's probably why the school district has heard a lot of complaints about it. But in the spirit of Paul Merriman, we move on, and we did stake out a course that I think will work. But I do have concerns about the future since it is now clear. There's a lot of debris left on both sides of where we put a new trail in, and eventually that's going to have to be dealt with for the forestry program, and it's going to take heavy equipment. So I'm worried about the new trails that we're grooming right now. To keep that equipment off those trails once we have them done is going to be important. And then the other thing is that with all the additional sunlight that's going to come in on the course now, we're going to have a lot of poison oak, a lot of blackberries, and so facilities is going to have a job to do, you know. And sometimes our cross-country course is neglected by facilities, but now they're going to need to do more work than they've ever done out there. And I just hope that the school district and the school board will make sure that we're put on the same stature as all the ball fields at the school. Our course is protected, just like the school board before this, many years before all of you, promised that it would be. And it hasn't been, and it's not just what happened out there at Downing Forest. It's so many other things that have happened that have forced us to move our course to the point right now that the Paul Merriman stone and big plaque is not anywhere near the course. It's over by a softball fence because they put in the softball field right on our starting line. And those things just continue to happen. Well, I'd like to get to the point where, okay, we have a course for the best cross-country program in the state, and we're going to leave it. And I hope that I have the support of the school board and the superintendent to make sure that happens.
Joe, I'm not familiar, are you the cross-country coach?
I've been coaching there since the early 80s.
So I've seen a little bit of this stuff from Brad's online newspaper. So we run a ranch out on Carver Hill. There's it's a Crestmont Land Trust.
Yeah, we run out there.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you, because I think we're like 13.5 miles of trails, and they've spent thousands of dollars in researching the best gravel to walk on, what stays in place. So and I realize it's not connected to the school, but because I didn't see it on Brad's list of alternative places.
The problem, and we meet there like in the summertime and the winter when the kids just go on their own, and I meet them. The problem with during the season is we have to transport the kids in a school bus, and there's really no place for a school bus to park out there. So today we went to the Lewisburg Saddle out in McDonald Forest, go to PBR Arena, there's places where a bus can get in. The parking there at Crestmont Trails, it's not big enough really for a bus.
We potentially, if that was an issue, we might be able to let you through the gate and go down and turn around in there.
We would love to run there, because it's the closest place.
So I'll give you my, so yeah, we have that is our public, the county owns the road, but we maintain that road. And we take tours up in there, and we take Starker Forest bus, and we've had the 3 buses out to the road turn around out there. So we can, if we had a county, technically it's a closed road, but we probably could get you into the turnaround.
Right?
So you guys, if you guys could get bus in there, I'm sure we
It's a
could.
lot closer than PBR Arena.
Oh, yeah.
So I technically would have to check with the county, because we're not allowed to just open the gate, but we have a clock on the gate.
You're talking about the gate where we go through to do our run.
Yeah. So when you go in there, an 8 to a mile, you come up the first hill. Sure. And then we put that big tree that fell down there, the buses can turn around right there.
Okay.
So there's a potential of,
I like that potential.
we just have to get county permission.
Well, maybe you guys can hook up and talk about that in more in depth and see if we can't make it work. And it sounds like it'd be a good thing. Okay. So,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Rick talked about, if we did nothing, the forest would still be unusable because we couldn't let people in. Nobody's used it since the windstorms. So, this was a picture that I had taken when it was logged off. And, these were all the phone calls and things like that came through. So, Rick kind of laid it out that following that later June meeting, what we had agreed to was whoever did the work would get to use their professional judgment to know what should come down. And so on July 29th, we communicated with families and our staff, and we'll go in the wrong direction here. And then the meetings that Joe was referring to, we did a communication also with the Oregon School Activities Association, with Joe's agreement to their cross-country lead to be able to say, here's our situation and here's what happened. We would like you to support us and help to support the teams that work with us, because what we don't want is what we didn't want is for schools to call and say, well, great, the forest is gone, we're just going to cancel our attendance at your meet. And that we really couldn't do that. We talked about relocating the meet, we talked about all kinds of things like that, and really it's slow, and so there's the heart of being able to want it here. So that's why the course became the interest area to be able to really target first, to get rid of stumps and things like that. So we met with cross-country coaches, like Rick said, on the 16th. We also met with the city of Paloma on that day. One of the things that was talked about is the city will now call the county, who's working out on Chapel Drive, to be able to talk about drainage, to make sure we truly are in the world of appropriate drainage, so we don't flood the forest and we don't flood the fields that are on the other side of it out towards the middle school. So we've got some support that way. And there were some recommendations about some support. The city actually came in Friday afternoon. They made arrangements for a rig of some kind to be able to come help with cleanup. So then on the 18th, we got back with the original meeting in June, and the conversation was really about, so what now? What do we do moving into the future? And so that's going to be about how do we plan to re-engage that forest area. Is it seedlings? Is it seedlings and larger trees? Is it different varieties of trees? You know, what is it that we want to look at as we move things up? And we promised Joe and Brian Starr, cross-country coaches, that we would get together the first week of school to be able to finalize the decisions about the Merriman meet. And so there would be ample time if it needed to be canceled, which I'm hoping above all hope that it doesn't have to happen that way. Then if we agree that we're a go, then we're a go, and we're committed to it and pulling some things into place to be able to make that be the best that it can be, given the status and the situation. And so we've got the city on board, we've got the district on board, we've worked with coaches. Is it the most ideal? No, but into our future, we have some opportunity to be able to grow it, to look, and then that's why I put in the early September to be able to look at the forestry planning. Joey sent me a couple of pictures this morning that just show a little bit about some of the grading that's happening to be able to create the trails and things like that. So there's active work going on to be able to take care of business to provide trail access. And they were waylaid last week because of the heat and air quality. And so when people said, well, there's nobody out there doing anything, it was really because they couldn't. And so, you know, now we've got things back in there and cleaning things up. Has it been a moneymaker for the district for lumber sales? No, not hardly. I think you said we got $4,900 for the timber sale for us, and we turned around and paid a landscaping. We have a landscaping crew that's been doing the mulching and the clearing for $8,000. So it isn't a moneymaker to be able to do that. But our plan and intent is to grow forward into the future and be committed to educational space for students in all variety of things, in the classroom, in their athletics, in all those kinds of things. So,
Susan, an idea you might reach out to. So my uncle drives a truck for JV Saw, which owns Blue Heron Farms out here in Peoria. They're a landscape nursery supply, and they often trees to a certain size in a pot. And the roots, if it's not sold by them, they throw them in the dump. So there's potential of some bigger trees that are getting ready to get thrown away because if a tree doesn't sell, then JV Saw has nurseries in at least Oregon and Washington. But so we have a whole bunch of fruit trees, Marco probably one day is put the home to the dump. And they've been planted out for 20 years and they're fine. But they get to a certain size and they're no longer a retail sellable product. And so there may be an opportunity to get a hold of one, any of those sort of companies that grow stuff that have bigger trees.
yeah, and that's, and we've been looking into that because we've said if we could start with all seedlings, but is that in the best interest, and do we want some larger trees? So that's going to look. The other thing that, thank you, this is great. The other thing that we have talked about is the city had talked about its willingness, if we wanted, to reach out to nurseries, big nurseries, because there are times when they have big bunches of trees in their pots, sitting in their lots. And they hire a driver and can, you know, we want 200 trees for Saturday. And so does that give us something to be able to, you know, certainly not recraft everything, but does it give us a chance to be able to say, this remains Philomath, we are committed to the growth and the sustainability of the classroom and a cross-country course. And it's just another way to supplement the look in that loop there. And so there are some opportunities to be able to look that way. And then Simon Babcock, the forestry instructor, wasn't able to be with us when we met last week. And so it's very important that we want to bring him in. But yes, we have looked at bigger trees. And so that's good to know.
Up there at Brooks, I can't remember the name of that nursery, they have a truck that has the huge digger that takes like a 30-foot tree and moves it.
And that's what we've talked about.
So we had a big opportunity to get some big trees.
Yep.
Yeah.
JB Sod is the one that is the parent company of the Blue Heron Farm.
That's good to know.
So I also had an idea, similar to what, often the parks will do, where you can sponsor a brick. If we had an opportunity to sponsor a tree, and people could pay for a tree to be planted in the forest for the schools.
And that's all a
Just an
possibility.
idea.
Well, and Joe has already had people coming out of the woodwork to say, what can we do?
I have a feeling we could get a
to
lot,
be able
maybe
to
more
help
trees
out.
than you could handle.
Yeah.
Sponsored that way. And then I had brought this up and I can't remember what the setting was, but I know even though I don't understand sports, I do recognize that they are vitally important. I would love to go stand on the sidelines of the course and cheer, and I can be a human tree, and I think we can get so many people out there to line the whole course and cheer those athletes on.
We get so many spectators at that meet, they're out there lining the course pretty much already.
Okay, there we go. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
I'll be out there cheering. Go,
It's a
run.
very big event.
So, okay. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
That's great, thanks Ryan for
It's
that.
awesome, all the way around.
Is there anything else,
No, you,
Joe?
I just,
I just wanted to thank you and Brad for bringing it to the attention, because I've received an outpouring of support. And if we do have a work day, I guarantee an awful lot of people will be there.
Did you say you were gonna be available tomorrow?
I'll be there early tomorrow morning just to talk to where the dirt should go.
Okay, you might talk to Joey, and that drainage there on the west side, if we need 3 loads in there, we'll put 3 loads. We can always have a little extra and move it some other place, but I'd like to have enough close that it can build that real quick to where that culvert's gonna go in there. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah,
Get out of here.
thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much.
And
run away.
I'm so impressed that all of you are willing to do this. I think I'd rather go to the dentist than to. I hate the dentist.
Have a nice drive to Kings Valley.
We could probably turn, have you go right trucks up there.
Okay, let them go ahead and talk. Meeting with Kings Valley Charter School. Do you have anything new on that, or?
I met with Mark and Diana, Cynthia and I did last week. And Diana said she has received your email, she will get back in touch. She needed to touch base with Sally. They're down a couple of board members, and so they're looking to add. And so they are wanting and willing to meet. And so I just need to make sure I can set a date. And so I needed to ask, do we want it on a board meeting day? Do we want it a different day?
Well, it was originally put out there to them that for them to get back to us with dates that would work for them so we could pick.
Okay.
I think that's still the best way to do it, is for them to give us a number of days or
Yep.
dates that would work, and then we can go through and see what fits our schedule to their schedule and go through with that. But just for people who aren't in the know on this, I reached out to them earlier this summer, maybe, well, it was spring, with an email, and then I also contacted the board chair at graduation at Kings Valley and got no response. And then subsequently sent another email, so they'd had 2 emails and a personal visit, and still haven't heard anything back from them, but I didn't realize that they were short board members and, going through that process, but because nobody got back to me on any of it, so.
Right, and we just met with them last week, and I raised that, and so there was acknowledgement. The other thing that I think is clear is their choice of not communicating is not because they're unhappy with the district.
Oh, no, I didn't figure that, but I
No,
was
but
just,
I figured that's a good thing to put out there.
Yeah, no, it's nice to know with prior, years' experiences, that hasn't been a problem. It's just the relationship between the two. But in the last few years, we've been trying to build that relationship back, and I think we've been doing a pretty good job of it, but,
I'll get back to them.
yeah.
So is this for a goodwill meeting or?
It's just a goodwill meeting, kind of, we try to meet twice a year
Okay,
and talk about what's going on in both
okay.
venues, how they're doing, how we're doing. If there's something we can do to help support them, since we are the sponsoring district. If there's, a way we can help them, maybe they're asking for things that we can't accommodate, so, we just do what we can. So, but it's just to keep the communication channel open, and it's been really good the last few years to do that, and I think both sides would attest to the fact that it's great to have an open communication. And that's all we're trying to do, is set up a date that we can get together and just have a conversation with them.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them. I'll reach out to her. I'd have to get back to Diana about another issue.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Discussion action items. Co-op with Lincoln County School District for soccer. Everybody got it in their packet. The request. My only question, and I don't know exactly how this works with, since Eddyville, I'm assuming is part of the Lincoln County School District,
It is.
why they don't partner with them as opposed to asking to partner with Paloma?
Because of where they live in relationship to where Eddyville is.
Okay,
And so the student attends Eddyville as a charter school that lives closer here.
okay,
And so that was the reason for that request.
okay. No, that's fine. I was just,
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
because I know that they have soccer in Lincoln County schools.
Yep.
Just curious as to why they're going out of district to want the cooperative agreement, so. All right, I'll entertain a motion to either accept or deny this.
I move we approve the cooperative agreement for boys soccer, Eddyville Charter School, for that one student.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the request, and I'm just gonna go this letter dated August 10th from Mike Hood, Assistant Principal Athletic Director. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Okay.
Which we have had the student, we were able to clear through the Oregon School Activities Association that the student could practice, but could not compete in competition. And so if the student is at a varsity level, which I don't know, that student will be able to play in their jamboree this week as a result of this decision. So appreciate it a lot.
Okay, moving on, we'll go to policies. Let me get this right. GCBDF/GDBDF. And that would be the paid family medical leave insurance. So do we want to do, you're on the policy committee, do we want to do these separate or together, or?
So I actually recently learned at the OSBA conference that we are not required to approve ARs unless they are specifically indicated. We have to approve them. So we can just acknowledge that we received the AR and we can move to approve the policy.
We'll approve the policy and the AR just kind of comes with it.
Yes, because it's the administrative
Yeah,
regulations or rules. We actually aren't even necessarily in the job of writing the ARs. I recently found out.
Yeah.
That is entirely your responsibility unless you want to step up.
Okay.
And I'm very happy to help with that.
Surprise!
So I believe this is one that we aren't required necessarily to approve. And they indicate at the bottom of the ones that we do have to approve. So I think we're good on this.
So this policy we don't
The
have to
policy we
approve?
do need to approve.
Oh, we need to approve the policy, okay.
And this is technically the first reading, but we are also permitted to approve on first reading, so it's fine.
Do you have a recommendation?
I would move that we approve this
Okay, so
policy.
no issues with it?
I'm assuming you're entertaining motions. I apologize if I just jumped ahead.
Yeah, I'll, is there a motion to?
I so move.
Okay, a second?
I'm not gonna list out all the letters of the
That's
policy.
your
We're good.
I just got the packet, so I'm trying to quickly read it. Is there anything that's new or different that you know about?
So there's bracketed language in there, but it doesn't apply to us. The bracketed language, I believe, does not apply to us, so we wouldn't need to include it. That's my understanding of it. It's because there was a change to some of the state legislation around family leave.
Yep.
So it's basically going from a short-term disability to this paid family leave insurance. It's just one is replacing the other, although we do make them both available.
Yes, we do.
I sat on that bargaining team, I remember.
This is a new policy then.
It is a
It's not
brand new
revision or
No,
anything.
it's new.
Yeah, okay, because I don't see an adopted date on here earlier. Ryan,
We're
you
gonna
can,
do a process.
when policies have been adopted previously, I don't know if you have it up there,
Yes.
but the top left, it says code, and then that's the letters, and then it says adopted. If it doesn't say anything, it means it's never been adopted before, but if it has a date, it means it has previously been adopted, and this is just a readoption of a policy that's already there. The code, this one has not been
It's
adopted
brand
before.
new.
It's just a way to classify. I'm sure somebody knows what they mean, but
Yeah.
So this, if I'm correct, was this maternity leave, and they just changed it to the name of it, this new policy?
No, it wasn't maternity leave, it was like, I don't know, it's a new law that the state passed that we have to have the paid family medical leave insurance.
Yes, so it's replacing short-term disability, except it doesn't have to fully replace it. We still offer that.
Okay.
But it's at a state level, it is requiring employers to provide this or some form of this to their employees. At the school district level, it's something we already offered in a different form, so we're just adapting it to the new form that we're offering it in. But it is a statewide family protection.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
you don't have to pass the.
No, we don't have to pass
That's the AR. And I forgot to mention, the reason behind that is they want the administration within the school district, specifically sitting in the superintendent office, to be able to change the AR more easily if it needs to be changed to meet the needs of the district.
They run the day-to-day stuff. That's,
Yes.
Nice.
we don't. Okay.
I am not sad that we don't. I run enough day-to-day stuff.
D3, we've already talked about, we're gonna bump that back to September 7th.
And
So, number 4 is gonna either be on the 7th, but probably the 21st, let's bring it back to the 21st.
That's what I'm thinking would be best.
Yeah. Just schedule it, because we're gonna have enough other stuff to do, but, the bargaining agreement would be something that's really short and sweet, I guess, and move on. So that takes care of that. Meeting closer, next meeting agenda items, we've already got a couple of those.
yes, I believe there will be a large swath of policies coming through.
Okay.
Whether we have time to have a policy committee meeting between now and then, I'm not sure. But I do know that with so many legislative updates that just happened, we will have a lot of policies to update. And one of those is whether or not we would like to pass a resolution regarding the stipend for school board members, because that was passed. And as a board, we're required to say what our action will be.
Well, I would request that rather than bringing a whole slew of them at once, maybe, over the next 3 months, we can filter them in and, make it a little bit more palatable for the board members to look at. And
Absolutely. Well, and again, timing wise, we have to determine who will be on the policy committee this time around, so we can't do that until our work club. I mean, we could do that, but we won't do that until our work session, so. And then, since I'm talking a lot right now, we are required under Oregon statute to record and publish our work sessions as well. Is Blodgett capable? Do we have that capability at Blodgett for a retreat to record?
Yes.
Our work session?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No, it's a great question.
Are we planning to do it live again? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I hadn't written that down in my calendar, so.
All right, That's all for me. I'm gonna be quiet again now.
I believe it was BAS, knowing that it's out of order.
Yeah, I talked to her, and we've got that set up.
Okay, yeah, so, okay. Is there any special items that anybody wants on there besides the policies? You know, and community code and license bargaining agreement?
General discussion and our sort of standard, you know, the month by month.
Oh, yeah.
Standard stuff that we have.
Yeah, it'll be on there, but these two here will be on there. I didn't know if there's anything special somebody wanted. Okay, board thanks. And Ryan and
I thank
Sandy, well, I just want to explain, this is just a time that the board can thank something in the district or people or whatever that you're thankful for people doing things or being here or whatever. So just feel free to, you know, say whatever you want. And we don't have any certain order. It doesn't start down here. Start down here this way. Whoever wants to talk first can talk. So that's how this part of it.
I'll start.
So Joe's
I
going
would
to
really like to thank the negotiating teams. I would especially be thankful for the fact that I didn't have to be here. But you guys did a great job, a lot of work, and you know, both sides will agree. And just thankful for all the people working hard to get the school year up and running. A lot of work to do.
And I'll just chime in on the end of that. Having registered a couple kids for school this week, thanks to all of the people who make those registration days run so smoothly. I feel like, I don't want to admit how many years I've been doing it in this district, but I think we're rapidly approaching, I think we're like 18. We're rapidly approaching 20 years of school registrations that I've gone through in the school district. I really do think that it has gotten easier and easier and easier each year, especially moving toward electronic records, so I don't have to fill out a form and then photocopy it and then just enter my kids' names in multiple times, which I finally figured out after 3 years that I should do it that way. And I did it in Synergy, so hey, maybe I've used Synergy before some of the teachers have had a chance to get there. And I hope that it runs. But yes, thanks to everyone. There's so many smiling faces in the middle school. I just, and such a warm welcome. I always love walking in the doors of that school. So, all of the schools, but I was only at the middle school today.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody that comes to these meetings because it's very helpful to have other input. I want to thank you guys for being so open to having board members in the schools and at meetings and things, because I agree that that's necessary and I want that to happen. Brian and I have talked about it, you know, about how we're going to come and visit and things, and that's important to me. That's part of why I signed on for this. So thank you everybody for all your hard work to support us as well.
And you don't have to say it. You don't have to say it. Yeah. That's not a requirement, so, okay.
Sometimes we make general enough thanks that you can just say ditto.
We'll go to student rep. Do you have anything?
I was at registration yesterday, and I know the counselors stayed past the designated time to help us make schedules, so thanks to them.
Awesome.
Always thanks to the counselors.
Okay. I'm going to start out with the negotiations. Great to have it settled, hopefully, and all done before school starts, as long as both sides can agree in that. I see no reason why not on our side. I just want time to be able to actually read it before we vote on it. So anyhow, great job by both sides. Pleasure working with you guys through the whole process and hopefully getting it right. Hopefully everybody else will agree that it's right. I see Dave kind of like,
It's never right.
Well, acceptable, put it that way. Yeah. I want to thank all the staff that's around here now and being here through the summer, doing things, getting the buildings ready for kids to come back to school. You know, normally it's all staff in general, but all staff hasn't been here all summer. But the office staff here and everything works hard during the summer. The administrators are back. Some of the teachers are back, you know, doing the registration things and all of that. it takes all of them to make the district what it is, and I think it's great, a district to have. Sorry. No, we're not quite done yet.
That was my alarm for the
Just
rest of
need
stuff.
music.
Joey in maintenance did a fantastic job this summer with the stuff that he's had to deal with, you know, with everything on a normal basis. And I see that they had the street dug up in front of the high school, I'm assuming fixing the sewer problem that we had last year.
Yeah.
So he's had plenty to deal with. The fields are looking nice, they're green. So they've done a good job, him and his staff, not just him, but the whole staff there. Then the work on the Downing Forest that he's done and continues to do and supervise. You know, there was a comment made, and I just happened to think about this about last week when they didn't get much work done. With that grinder, there's also a huge fire danger with that grinder grinding and metal sparks and whatnot. They just, and I don't know how it is now, but on the way in here, I heard they had a big wildfire going in South Salem off Liberty. And yeah, level 3 evacuations and whatnot. So it just started at 3 o'clock this afternoon, so.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we don't want to get a fire started anywhere, you know, so.
Additionally, the county actually said no heavy equipment last week,
Yeah.
after 10 in the morning.
Yeah, they
So
did.
Yeah,
they couldn't do it anyway.
well, most of the logging stuff right now is on level 3, which means you have to be back on the county road by 1 o'clock, which means you also have to do 2-hour fire watch previous to that. So it's about 10 o'clock when you have to quit, you know, and start working their way out of the brush. Yeah, the Downing Forest, terrible situation, but we're trying to make the best of it that we can and working with everybody, and hopefully when Simon gets back, we can work and see what we want to have it looking like in 20 or 40 years from now, because it's not gonna happen next year. It's gonna be a long process of getting that forest back to looking like a forest, and, you know, so they need to work on it now and have a vision for 20 to 40 years out, what it's gonna look like. And then the board members for volunteering barbecue, for working at the barbecue, and I'm glad to have the barbecue back this year. I know years ago, I used to help cook the hamburgers, you know, when we did it before the remodel at the high school, we did it on the east side of the gym too there and had everything out there, and I really enjoyed doing that, and so hopefully it'll be as enjoyable now that we're bringing it back as it was then, so many thanks for that. So other than that, I'll shut up.
Can I back up and ask a question on next, other agenda items or next time? You guys, is there a facilities committee? I look at it as a machine, like just like the population. Is there somebody that annually goes through the schools, analyzes repairs coming up? Like I remember talking, I think Susan mentioned before, a school needed a roof that wasn't in the budget, it wasn't prepared for. Is there another committee or somebody that annually looks at this stuff so you can plan? You never plan for everything, there's almost a level of repairs required every year.
There used to be a committee that did that, and it was long-term facilities committee, and we went out, you know, what we wanted in 5 years, what we wanted in 10 years, what we wanted in 20 years, and that's kind of slid, I think maybe part of it due to COVID.
Part of it due to COVID and part of it due to money.
Yeah, well, mostly money, but COVID had some, you know, didn't want to meet in small groups and, you know, have all the restrictions. But hopefully now that that's done and, you know, we can get back to some more longer range things with the facilities, because, you know, I've always said if you don't have the buildings to have the classes in, you're not going to have very good classes, so.
Joey and his staff continue to walk that every year and put together plans.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess my question is still, is that a school board thing, or is that a different person, different group that does that?
It's a committee.
Yeah.
We can have, school board representation can be a part of it.
Yeah.
And we will sign up for those committees at our board retreat. So there are several different committees and liaison positions, and every year we sign up for those at the retreat. So yeah, Rick and I, along with Susan and Jennifer and Joey and
Probably Ryan.
then I think each building admin joined us.
Yep.
Yes, and Ryan. we walked through last year. So that was kind of I think like the re-kickoff of it. But if that's something you're interested in.
I would think that a contractor would be a lot better person to walk through with some people that would then understand, like, looking at stuff that would know more than just in general people walking through.
Well, Joey has a very in-depth knowledge of all of that, so.
I just like to know those things out like 10 years. In 10 years, we need to do this, because you guys start budgeting now for it.
No, I remember at one time we had a nice packet that had a lot of that stuff in it, so, no, he's very, very knowledgeable and very capable of putting that together. But going back to the committee, I seen a paper here not too long ago that had a bunch of committees on there, and I thought you'd signed up for all of them.
Probably.
So.
We call that being voluntold.
Yes, I volunteer people to do stuff.
Okay, is there any board requests?
Going back to the agenda, can we put the Downing Forest update on next month's agenda as well, so that we keep everybody?
Yeah, because there will be some sort of an update, because we're gonna meet the first week of school with the cross-country, and so
Right.
there will be, it might be just a real short update, but.
That's okay, but I'd like to see it
We'll
on
have
the
something.
agendas, because it's so important to so many people.
Yeah, we'll have something.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yep.
Okay, hearing nothing more, we're adjourned. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Rick, on that barbecue,
Yep.
you guys, you have everything covered, we usually go.
If you want to help find, if not, I think we got everything pretty well. I think, Ryan, are you gonna be there? It's on the first, it's at noon, so, it's Friday first, it's a Friday. Yeah.
Because I mean, my plan would be there, so if I show up in